That was a long night. But we did not drag. Alleluia. None of the boats around us dragged. Alleluia.
And we didn't get struck by lightning.
And we did not get struck by the millions of lightnings. We would love to sleep more, but around here we gotta make sure we're using the currents in our favor. And right now, it's in our favor. So we gotta go.
Thank you. So after we get some coffee and wake up, we try to get them move pretty quick to catch this favorable current. And
first we gotta walk quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna walk Jetty real quick. And then we're gonna sail to one of our favorite spots in New England.
If you're new here, Billy, Sierra, and the favorite, Jetty. We've been living on boats for almost 9 years now. We're usually on old ones fixing them up. This is our first brand new boat. It's honestly our first big trip on her. And we're ready to go have some fun. And we're ready to bring you with us. Today's a sailing day. Come sailing with us. Today's video is sponsored by Surfshark.
And no, it's not this Surfshark.
It's Surfshark VPN.
VPN stands for Virtual Private Network.
So Surfshark is a virtual private network that keeps your online identity safe by encrypting all of the information sent between your device and the internet.
This keeps your personal data protected from cyber criminals.
If you're like us and use public Wi-Fi a lot, just like we did to upload this video,
then using a VPN is super important because it helps encrypt your online data and helps to secure your personal information.
Public Wi-Fi can be a gold mine for hackers, but Surfshark's got your back.
Nowadays, there are so many scammers on the internet trying to get you to click this or sign up for that, but Surfshark's clean web feature blocks ads, trackers, malware, and phishing attempts, allowing you to surf the web safely.
Surfshark VPN can also swap the real location of your device for a new one. So, in other words, it changes your IP address.
This can help find the best deals on hotels and flights, and it can also make sure that you can still watch your favorite shows even while traveling abroad. If you want to better protect yourself, then give Surfshark a try by using the link in the description below.
You can use it on unlimited devices, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can use the code EndlessSummer for an extra 3 months free, so there's really no risk to try it out.
Thank you so much, Surfshark, for sponsoring this video, and we hope you guys like it.
Are you ready for your morning walk around? Okay.
Go get her. On your elevator ride, come on. There you go. Take care of her.
Okay, I can put it down in your spot.
So today we're going to be sailing to, like Sierra said, one of our favorite spots in New England, a small island called Catamaran. It's the first island, the westernmost island of the Elizabeth Island chain. And I think we're gonna have a good sail. Looks like the wind's gonna be on our beam the whole time, or just behind our beam. What's the forecast? Around 10 to 15 knots, 12 to 15 knots.
With like a 4 to 5 foot swell.
But if it's a little behind our beam, shouldn't be too bad. Really perfect wind conditions if it does what it's forecasted. So we'll be hopefully beam reaching or broad reaching the whole way. The Cuttyhunk's about 50 miles away. So we've been using 6 knots as a average.
And with that, a fun fact from Ocean City, Maryland to, where were we yesterday? New London, Connecticut. We only used 11 gallons of fuel.
So far this boat's been a pretty good sailing boat. We've been able to sail in most conditions and be happy, especially when it comes down to light wind, which is really important when you're cruising. We've been able to keep the boat moving along, especially with the screecher and spinnaker. That's been nice. It's just painful when you're on a sailing boat and you have a little bit of breeze, but it's not enough to really push the boat and you're just like bobbing out there. But so far we've been able to pick our days and have the conditions to be able to sail the whole time. All right, we're gonna make some coffee, maybe a little breakfast, and then get underway, get sailing.
Okay, so this is the biggest boat we have ever lived on, but in the scheme of things, it's still a boat, it's still a relatively small space, and we try to keep it as clean as possible in order to make it not feel like, you know, cramped and stuff. So one thing I try to do every day is vacuum, because we do have a beautiful little red shedding dog who gets red hair everywhere, and if you don't catch it early, it just gets overwhelming. So this is something I pretty much do every morning right after we walk her, just before we get going. Vroom, vroom.
Okay, so here's an example of what we were talking about earlier, what the current. Our boat is currently going 5.5 nautical miles per hour, but we're moving 7.34 nautical miles per hour. So the current is pushing us almost 2 knots. If that was against us, that wouldn't be very fun.
So this area is notorious for really strong currents. They have a whole tide book that they come out with every year called Eldridge, and it tells you what the currents are gonna do in what directions based on the tides, and it's important to have something like that because it's very unpredictable what it's gonna do. There's so many little islands and inlets and outlets, and so I learned quickly. I was sailing my little 26-foot sailboat, Tula, from Newport back to Montauk, passed by the north end of Block Island, and I was looking at the Montauk Lighthouse like 15 miles away. Got a little closer, 10 miles away, and all of a sudden I'm not making my angle to be able to pass north of Montauk Point, and I realized that the current was just pushing me way back, you know, south into the Atlantic rather than allowing me to keep my course. So basically I like turned on the engine, just started motoring, was only doing like 2 to 3 knots directly into the wind at that point because I lost so much angle. I had to just motor into the wind because even tacking wasn't doing what I needed to be done. And basically just motoring for like 3-4 hours, just holding onto the tiller. My autopilot didn't work very well, so in any rough conditions I had to just hand steer, and I had to pee so bad, but it was so rough, and if I let go of that tiller I would have lost like an hour-long distance, and I had full-on like oil slicks, so it was almost impossible for me to like take them off. Basically I just peed in my pants. I was like, you know what, I'm soaking wet anyway. Peed in my pants. I was like, I'll deal with this later when I get into calm water.
So how many years ago was that?
That was like 10 years or 11 years ago maybe.
And what's the biggest lesson you learned?
Two, really, just basically understanding tides and currents. But the second lesson is like, just have a backup or a plan B, or just like look at your other options and don't be dead set on getting where you want to go. Like, what I should have really done is just turned around and went to Block Island. It would have been a nice, easy hour sail to Block Island instead of like 5 hours motoring at night into Montauk, like just getting beat up. Take plan B, could have slept there, woke up in the morning, and then continued on the next day with favorable currents. But so that was all on my very first cruising boat, my very first sailboat that I bought for $800 and fixed up and took, you know, as far as Nantucket all the way down to Florida and the Florida Keys. And it's pretty cool being here, back in the same similar area, doing the same sort of thing, but on a brand new boat this time, just a really nice catamaran.
If someone told you the moment you were peeing your pants that in 10 years from now you'd be in the same spot on a brand new boat with a working autopilot and a wife and a dog, what would you have said?
I don't know. Yeah, I think I would have been pretty happy. Oh, cool, I'm still doing it. Although at the time I was like ready to quit and just be like, I'm done with this stupid sailing thing. So we're going through a little cut called Watch Hill Passage. This whole area, like I said, currents rip around here, and there's so many little cuts and inlets and rock outcrops, and because the current rips so hard around them, it makes really confused, rough seas. Luckily, it's not that rough today, but you can still see kind of how confused the seas are. We were rocking and rolling back there. Obviously, camera doesn't do it justice, but just a little mixed up conditions, and the wind was only blowing like 5 knots when we left, so we didn't put the mainsail up because it would have just been slapping around in these confused seas. But the wind's picking up a little bit more, and as soon as we get out this passage, we'll raise the main and get sailing. Hopefully we have at least 10 knots and we can sail at a decent clip.
Okay, I've been getting a lot of questions on Instagram about how I feel since taking the sailing lessons, if they've actually helped. I think they've really helped. That sail from Florida to New York, we did quite a few overnight trips, and I think I only woke you up like once. Yeah. Maybe once. I feel like I'm definitely getting better at like sail trim, understanding what happens when other things happen, right of way, kind of comfort in general. Haven't talked that much on this trip because it's all been in kind of sketchy areas, but we did one the other day and I was like, I could have done that. I could have pulled into that slip, so I just need to. I think it's definitely been helping, and I think I've been using and trying to perfect what I learned when Billy was sleeping at night, trying to make sure the sails were trimmed the right way and everything. Still super highly recommend before, during, anytime you want to go sail away on a boat. Take some sailing lessons. It will make you feel so much better. That button.
What button? So we're trying to decide if we're going to use the jib or the screecher. For those of you guys who don't know, the jib is the head sail. It's a smaller head sail, and the screecher is the same. It's also a head sail, but it's lighter weight, it's bigger, and it's a relatively flat cut compared to, like, say, a spinnaker that you would use in light downwind conditions. You would use a screecher in light reaching or light upwind conditions. Not as tight as you could sail upwind with the jib, but pretty close. So the way we decide is, like, basically the screecher, because it's a little bit of a bigger, lighter weight sail, there is a limit to the wind speed that we'd want that up in, and it depends on your angle, somewhere between, I don't know, 12 to 18 knots, depending on your angle, something like that. That was very, very rough. Doyle supplied us with a chart for the sails, so we can kind of see at what angle the limits of the sails are. When the wind is directly on our beam, I just looked at our sailing chart, we can fly the screecher in up to about 15 knots of wind, true wind speed. We're just under that. but I think the wind will shift slightly behind our beam. That'll give us a little bit of room. We haven't flown the Screecher in a while, so we're just gonna take it out. If it gets too windy, we'll put it away. It's 12 to 13 knots right now, so I think we're all right.
Okay, normally we would try to have a much more balanced breakfast and we would probably eat it before we left, but we were running late this morning, we wanted to get on the move, so today it's just gonna be some bagels. The oven in here has a grilling option, which is pretty much just a broil option, so we're just gonna toast these up, whip on some cream cheese, and call it a day.
Wow, look at that. Thank you. It's only 12 to 13 knots of wind and we're going solid 7 knots plus. Wind is right on the beam. I'm so glad we chose the sail quiver that we did on this boat, because on Adrenaline, I feel like we compromised a lot. Adrenaline was our last catamaran, 40-foot, older performance catamaran. So when we got new sails on Adrenaline, we got a big square top mainsail, which was awesome. And we got a Genoa, which a Genoa is a head sail, similar to a Screecher, it like overlaps the mast. It's a bigger head sail, but it's a little bit of a heavier duty material than a Screecher. And it's a similar cut, it's a flat cut, so you should be able to sail maybe a little flatter than the Screecher even. You should be able to sail in the wind pretty good. And if you have to reef, you just furl it up a little and you reef it, although you never get a great sail shape when you do that. And I always felt like we were just stretching out the sail when we were sailing with it reefed, and we reefed often because that boat went quickly so easily. We were sailing at least upwind with that sail reefed more times than it wasn't reefed, or furled in rather. So I'm really glad with this boat we have the jib. So the jib is great for any very windy conditions, especially upwind. And then when the wind lightens up, if we're reaching or we're going upwind, we have the Screecher, which gets us going in lighter conditions. And then if it's light and we're going downwind, we have the asymmetric spinnaker, which is awesome for super light wind conditions downwind. I mean, honestly, we've flown in over 20 knots downwind as long as we're going deep downwind. It's still fine. So I'm really happy we didn't really compromise on the sail quiver for this boat. We have everything we need, and they kind of overlap each other in that we can fly this. Like even today, we could fly the jib or the Screecher. You know, we'd lose a knot or two if we're flying the jib, but just a condition where we could overlap in. Doyle did a fantastic job with these sails, and yeah, we're super happy with them. They're the cruising laminate sails too, so not the high-end carbon racing sails, but not the regular Dacron sails, kind of in between, so we get less of a stretch over time, and they're a little bit lighter than the Dacron sails, but they're not quite as expensive as like the carbon racing laminate sails. All right, so we got like 40 miles to go in a basically straight line. This is our course the whole entire way. We don't have any obstructions on our way, and we'll be passing like Point Judith and Newport, and Block Island is way down to our south. But then we'll be pulling into Cuttyhunk sometime before dark, probably around 6 p.m. maybe. Actually turning out to be really beautiful conditions, better than I was expecting, just because we were a little bit worried about that short period 3.5 to 4 foot swell, but it's really not bad at all.
Last time we came here, it was about, I don't know, 6 years ago at this point, and it was in September, and there was about 3 boats maybe in the entire harbor, and now this time the entire harbor is filled. There's moorings, 2 mooring fields on the outside that are both filled, and then multiple boats anchored, so it's just a very stark difference than last time, but we're just trying to figure out where to anchor. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking just in front, just outside this mooring field right here on the outside of the harbor. There's like basically no room to anchor in there in the summer because there's so many boats in there. They do have a ton of moorings all around here, but we prefer just to anchor if we can help it, just cheaper that way.
Your thoughts?
We're using the iPad for our navigation still because we just haven't bought the chip for the charts for the chart plotter yet. It's on the list, just haven't got there yet.
From what we read, the little restaurant over here does have a boat that will come out and you can order your dinner on VHF and they'll bring it out to you.
It's like a raw clam, a raw bar.
Yeah, like I think it's called the Raw Bar.
The raw bar.
We've been stuck on the boat all day and we want to go walk around, so we might just end up getting food over here, or we might just make it on the boat. We haven't decided yet. We like to support little cool small businesses like that, but we also do have food in the fridge, so we don't know. First up, walk jetty.
So the last time we were here was on Neverland, our old trawler. Yeah, Sierra said 6-7 years ago, something like that. Maybe longer now. It might have been 7 years ago. It's crazy. This is one of the parts I remember, is walking up this big hill, and you, like, this island's pretty high, and you get to the top and it's a really cool overlook. Beautiful small island. Yeah, look at that view. Wow.
We walked around town a little too long and all of the little stands for dinner were closed, so we're just making an easy dinner on the boat. It's gonna be veggie burgers with bacon because everything else we forgot to take out of the freezer to de-thaw. So veggie burgers it is. Billy's on dinner duty.
Don't get too excited, it's basically mush.
Why? Looks good though. Thanks for coming with us today as we sailed to Cutty Hunk, one of our favorite islands. If you guys like coming on this adventure with us and you want to support more, make sure to check out the Tula shop where we have lots of really cool shirt designs, such as, might be a couple left of what Billy was wearing today. Some new UPF shirts, some cool jetty shirts. So next time, my parents and my sister are coming for about a week, so Billy gets to hang out with the in-laws on a boat. We'll see how that goes.
On a 40-foot boat with the in-laws. What could go wrong?
We're gonna have fun, so we hope you come with us. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, Surfshark, for sponsoring this video. Click the link in the description to find out more. Thanks so much for watching.